How many games will the San Francisco 49ers win in 2024? What's going on? Bang, bang, Niner gang. It's your boy Mayo Jones here, back at it with another NFL record prediction. This time, we'll be doing our NFL record prediction for the San Francisco 49ers for the 2024 NFL season. Now, is it time for the Niners? Do you think the Niners will win the Super Bowl and get that Lombardi trophy? Or do you think they could be a little bit over a hangover? So we're gonna find out. So before I give you my recommendation for the San Francisco 49ers for a 2024 NFL season, don't forget to put the thumbs up to like the video, subscribe to my channel for more options, and comment down your opinion below to see how good you think the Niners will be. Do you think the Niners will make this Super Bowl? Do you think they can win a division? Do you think they could take a little bit of a step back this year? Let me know in the comments section below what you guys think. Okay, so week one, they got to play the home opener. They open things up at home against the Jets on Monday Night Football. Obviously, this is Aaron Rodgers returning to his hometown where he was born at. So basically, I got the Niners winning this game at home. And the reason why I think the Niners will win, because the Niners are at home. They're the more complete team. They got the better coaching staff. And I think they got the more healthier quarterback. So yeah, the Jets, they're a pretty good team. I think they're gonna be a good team this year, but their defense is really good. Offensive line did improve, but it's gonna be a new. I think there's gonna be some learning curves there with some new improvement on the offensive line. The defense still the same. They got some weapons on offense. You know, they added Mike Williams to the receiving corps outside of Garrett Wilson. So yeah, but Aaron Rodgers is probably gonna be rusty because he's coming off an injury, and I don't know how is he gonna look because he's old, and you know Rodgers has struggled against the Niners throughout his career. So yeah, and the Niners, do have a really good defensive line and a great secondary. Like that can, I feel like their pass rush can get after Aaron Rodgers, and I think their secondary is good enough where I think they can cover the Jets receivers. And their O line is really strong, which I think they can block the Jets and they can control the Jets pass rush, which that can allow the Niners to have success running the ball. And they got some weapons on offense, like Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk. And they also got Ricky Pearsall. So, and they got Kyle Fuller in the back, Kyle Juszczyk in the backfield. So I just kind of really feel like the Niners offensively can win their one-on-one matches against the Jets secondary, even though the Jets secondary is very talented. So, which I can put the Jets corners in a bad position and their whole defense in a bad position. But maybe there's a chance the Jets defense can give them a tough time. But I just feel like the Niners are just a more experienced team, and I feel like they're going to be ready for this game. The one thing that kind of scares me about Aaron Rodgers is that he struggles against pressure, especially with the type of blitz styles, and all that. So, yeah, I think the Niners are going to force the Jets to run the ball and all that. So, yeah, I think they will be close in the fun game to watch, but I think the Niners find a way to pull this one off. Next game against the Minnesota Vikings. This game is in Minnesota, which it could be a tough place to play at, which I could see Minnesota pulling off an upset, but I'm going to say the Niners will get their revenge on the Vikings for what happened last year, where the Vikings did beat them with their defense kind of winning the game, and then Kirk Cousins kind of had the best game of his career. But this is a different Vikings team without Kirk Cousins, because now they don't have him anymore. And I don't think the Vikings are going to be really good because I don't know who the quarterback is. If it's going to be Sam Darnold or it's going to be J.J. McCarthy. I don't know. But if it's a rookie, I wouldn't trust him, especially against that good of a defense like the Niners. I feel like that if Brian Flores can at least find a way to at least like attack, Kyle Shanahan and that Niners offense, I think the Vikings can definitely win that game. But I just don't see it happening. I see Shanahan putting a good game plan. And I think, the Vikings defense, is good, but I don't think it's great. And I just don't think the Vikings really have the corners, to cover Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. I just don't really see how the Vikings can cover the Niners. So yeah, and I just think the O line can do a good job blocking the Vikings because I don't think the Vikings have much of a pass rush to get after Brock Purdy. I think they can have success running the ball and some play action and all that. And I don't think the Vikings kind of have a good offensive line, but I don't think it's as good as the Niners. So I think the Niners can get some pressure up front, and then they have the better secondary in the Vikings, which I think they can cover against the Vikings receivers that can allow Minnesota to run the ball. So yeah, so I think the Niners should win this game, especially they got the better quarterback, better coaching, and they're kind of the better team overall. So yeah, that's why I think the Niners will win that game. Then week 3 against the LA Rams. I'm gonna say they lose to the Rams in LA because I just kind of feel like it's just time for the Rams to beat the Niners because the Niners have been sweeping them almost every season, and then when it got towards the end of the season last year, the Rams did beat them in San Francisco. But I think the Rams will win this game in LA because I feel like Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay could be familiar with each other, but I think the Rams have had a good offseason. Like I feel like they did improve their offensive line a little bit. Their receiving core is still the same. Their defense, I don't think is good as the Niners, but I think their secondary did improve, which I think they can play some man coverage against the Niners receivers. And I think their O line can play well enough, which I think they can protect Stafford now against the Niners and all that. And I think, the Rams receivers can win their one-on-one matches against the Niners, cornerback group. So, yeah. I think the Rams are gonna win the first game in LA. And in week 4 against the Patriots, I got them bouncing back and beating the Patriots because the Patriots, I don't think they're that good. I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Patriots. It's gonna be Drake May or it's gonna be Jacoby Brissett. But I wouldn't trust a rookie, especially against an elite defense like the Niners. And the Niners are at home. They got the better quarterback, better coaching. They're the better team overall. And Patriots deal with learning curve with a new head coach and a new quarterback and all that. And the Patriots don't have a lot of weapons on offense that can really scare the Niners defense, which I think the Niners do have secondary can get sticky against an underwhelming receiving core of the Patriots. And I don't think the Patriots offensive line is that great, which I think the Niners defensive line can take advantage of that. And even though the Patriots got a really good secondary, I think the Niners can win their one-on-one matchups against a good cornerback group. So yeah, and I think their O line can block the Patriots too, even despite the Patriots' defensive line being good. So yeah, but I just don't think the Patriots are going to keep up. I think they're going to get blown out. It's like the same thing where I see the Jets, like they're going to get blown out by San Francisco. Because especially the Niners got more weapons on offense and they're more explosive than the Patriots. So that's why I think the Niners will beat the Patriots. Then week 5 against Arizona Cardinals, they should beat the Cardinals at home. I mean, the Cardinals, I don't just despite the improvements that they have, I just don't think the Cardinals are a very good team. I mean, the offensive line is pretty good. They got some good weapons that can really move the ball on them, like Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson, especially Zay Jones. And they got James Conner in the backfield. Their secondary, their defense is not great. They don't have a lot of talent there, so the Niners should be able to move the ball on them. So yeah, I think the Niners should win, especially they're the better team overall and have the better coaching staff and a better quarterback. And they're at home, so yeah. I think the Niners win that game. Week 6 against Seattle Seahawks on a Thursday on a short week. This is a game I think the Niners can win because the Niners have swept the Seahawks like I think 2 straight seasons. I'm gonna say that the Seahawks are gonna beat the Niners at home because it's a short week and it's in Seattle where it's a tough place to play at. Seattle's probably gonna be a good team this year. They got a good quarterback in Geno Smith, a good offensive line, good receivers that can really give the Niners defense issues. They can run the ball. Their defense is really good, especially their defensive line and their secondary and their linebackers. So yeah, I think Seattle, and especially they got a really good, especially they got Mike McDonald as a head coach, and especially he did a really good job, in that Ravens when he was with the Ravens defensive coordinator. I feel like he did a really good job, like putting up a good game plan against Kyle Shanahan's offense. Like he found ways, to shut down the Niners offense and blitz Purdy and all that. I think he can do that in this game in Seattle. So yeah, I like Seahawks to win that game. Then week 7 against the Chiefs. This is a game that can definitely go either way. This is a Super Bowl rematch. This is a rematch from the Super Bowl, but I could see the Chiefs, winning this game because the Chiefs, have kind of owned the Niners. But I am gonna go with the Niners because if it wasn't Kansas City, I'll go with the Chiefs. But I'm going with the Niners because it's at home in this game. I think the Niners are a superior team, and I just think the Niners defense can match up well with the Chiefs really good. Like I think their pass rush can get after Mahomes. They can stop their running game. Their secondary can do a good job man up against the Chiefs receivers, and I think their O line can block the Chiefs, which I could have success in them run the ball. Now the Chiefs secondary, without L'Jarius Sneed, I don't think as good as it used to be. But I think the Niners offensively can move the ball on the Chiefs. That's on the Chiefs secondary. And the Chiefs won't be able to play as much man covers like they used to. So I think, Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle can be a problem without L'Jarius Sneed. So yeah. So I think it could be a little bit of a defensive game, but I think the Niners can pull it out. Next game, week 8 against the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, this game's in San Francisco. I got the Niners beating the Cowboys. I think they'll dismantle them. I mean that's a game that I might not want to watch because the Niners have really, really have always put a 40 burger on them because the Niners defense does a really good job like stopping the Cowboys running game, getting Dak Prescott a tough time. Their secondary is really talented. They can cover the Cowboys receivers, and I think their O-line can block the Cowboys pass rush because that can allow San Francisco to have success running the ball because the Cowboys at times are very soft against the run. So yeah, and I think even though despite a good cornerback group of the Cowboys, I think the Niners receivers can win their one-on-one matchups against that. So yeah, I think the Niners win that game at home, and especially I think they're just a better team overall. So yeah. Then they get a bye week 9. Then after the bye week, they got to play against the Buccaneers and Tampa. I got to get the Niners to win because Kyle Shanahan has definitely had answers against Todd Bowles' defense, and Todd Bowles have not had answers against Kyle Shanahan's offense. Maybe there's a chance the Bucs can definitely win. I mean, if Todd Bowles can put up a good game plan against Brock Purdy in the Niners offense, but I don't see it happening. Like I think the Niners can move the ball in the Bucs, and I think their defense is going to give the Bucs offense and Baker Mayfield issues. I think their corners can match up well with the Bucs receivers. So yeah, and I think they can block the Bucs too because I think the Bucs, I think the Niners can have success run the ball, and so yeah, especially I think the Niners are just a better team. They got a better coach, and I think they got a better quarterback. So yeah, that's why I think the Niners will win that game. Week 11 against the Seahawks, I think they'll split the Seahawks. So I'm gonna give them a win here because I believe the Seahawks, I just think San Francisco is just a better team overall and got the better coaching, better quarterback. They're at home in this game, and they always beat the Seahawks every year, and they pretty much have owned them. So, yeah, I think the Niners will win that game for sure. And then week 12 against the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, this is a game that can go either way. I can definitely see the Niners win this game where a lot of people are picking the Niners to win because the Niners are a better team than Green Bay. But I'm gonna go with the Packers as the upset. I think Green Bay is gonna win this game in Lambeau because in that playoff divisional round, Jordan Love kind of played really well against that Niners defense. Like the Packers, really have they got some young players on offense that can really like give the Niners defense problems, and they got a good running back in Josh Jacobs. Their offensive line is pretty strong. Their defensive line is pretty good, especially their secondary is really good. I think the Packers defense can definitely win them this game. And I think their defensive coordinator will be well prepared for this game. And I think Green Bay, can get after Brock Purdy. And I think their secondary can man up against the Niners receivers. So yeah. I think, the Packers defense is going to win in the game, but I think the offense can, if they can control the game, keep Purdy off the sidelines. And you never know what the weather's going to be in Green Bay. It could be rain, it could be cold there, where the Niners are really not used to that environment. So even though I think the Niners are a better team from a talent standpoint, but I think the Niners, are gonna find a way to pull it out. I mean, the Packers are gonna find a way to pull it out. So yeah, Week 13 against the Buffalo Bills. This is a game that can go either way. Now, some people could be picking the Niners to win because I think the Niners are a better team than Buffalo, in my opinion. But I'm gonna take the Bills to win because the game's not in San Francisco, but if it was, I would pick the Niners. But the game's in Buffalo, and I'm gonna pick the Bills is because the Bills are at home and it's West Coast to East Coast, which is kind of a tricky place. Like it's a hard place to play at in Buffalo because of the Bills Mafia and the fans going crazy. And it could be cold there too. And it could be a lot of snow. And the Bills are really used to that environment. I just feel like, that the Bills, are gonna find a way offensively to control the game. They can keep Brock Purdy off the sideline. I think Sean McDermott will have a good game plan against the Niners. Like I think his defense can find a way to at least like pressure Brock Purdy, blitz Purdy, and I think their secondary, they got some good corners that can man up against the Niners receivers. I think their defensive line's okay, but not great. I think they can stop their run really good. Offensive line's okay, but not great. But I think, even though the Bills don't have a lot of good weapons, I think Josh Allen can have a big game and he can run through the Niners defense. So yeah, I think the Bills will win that game. And then next game, week 14 against the Bears, I think they'll bounce back and beat the Bears after coming out two straight losses. I wouldn't trust a rookie on the road, especially against that good of a defense like the Niners. I think, the Niners defense is going to give the Bears offense tons of issues, especially up front, where I don't think the Bears are going to be able to run the ball that good. Their secondary can like find a way to cover the Bears receiving core. I think they can do that, which that can force the Bears to run the ball. And their offensive line is pretty solid, I think they can block the Bears because I don't think the Bears really have much of a pass rush to get after Brock Purdy. So I think they can run the ball on the Bears. I feel like Brock Purdy's gonna have time, and I think despite the Bears secondary being good, I think the Niners receivers can win their one-on-one matches against the Bears cornerback group. So yeah, and especially the Niners are just a better team overall. They got the better quarterback. They got a better coach, and they're just a better team. They're at home, and they're a better team overall. So that's why I think the Niners win that game. Week 15 against the LA Rams on a Thursday. This is on a short week, so I got the Niners winning that game at home. Um, the Niners typically have owned the Rams throughout out the years, and the Niners. I just think they're just a better team overall than the Rams. So yeah, the Rams, I think they're probably going to be a team that could definitely make the playoffs, or they could miss it. Like, who knows? I think the Niners are a better team than the Rams, especially they're at home on a Thursday. So, yeah, I think the Niners will win. Week 16 against the Miami Dolphins. This is a tricky game. This is a game that can definitely go either way because, the game's in Miami where it's a tough place to play at. And, it could be warm there where Miami does play well at home. But I can see the Dolphins. I think this game will be super close. The Dolphins could definitely pull off an upset because they got some good weapons. Tua is kind of a challenge. They got some good weapons on offense like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, OBJ, Jonnu Smith. They also got some good running backs as well. Their offensive line isn't great, but their defense, is I don't think it's as good as the Niners. So I think the Niners is way too physical for the Dolphins, so I'm gonna say they beat the Dolphins in Miami because the Niners are just a better team overall. They got the better coaching, they got the better quarterback, and this is Mike McDaniel. This could be the Mike McDaniel revenge game where he was the offensive coordinator for the Niners, but now he's with the Dolphins. I just think the Dolphins is a bad matchup for the Dolphins because I don't think their O line is going to do good enough to block the Niners' pass rush because their pass rush is really good. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball that well. But I think, the Niners secondary can do a good job, like covering the Dolphins receivers, which that's going to force Miami to run the ball. And, Tua, like I've been saying this because every time when the Dolphins play against top teams, that's when the Dolphins tend to struggle, and especially their defense. I don't think is that great, and especially their secondary is overrated. I think the Niners can win their weapons can like win their one-on-one matches against the Dolphins secondary, and I think they're I don't really know if the Dolphins are going to be able to get, some of their defensive players back, like Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. So I think the Niners can move the ball on them, and I think they can block the Dolphins, pass rush because I don't think the Dolphins pass rush may not be as good as it was. So yeah, especially the Niners are just a better team overall and better coach and have a better coaching. So yeah, I think the Niners win that game. And then week 17 against the Lions on a Monday night. I got the Niners win that game because it's in San Fran. But if it wasn't Detroit, I would pick the Lions. I just think the Niners, are just a way better team. They're at home and the defense, I thought in that playoff championship game, the Lions did play the Niners really well, where they really moved the ball, and the Niners really came back on them because the Lions blew it though. I feel like this is the Niners can match up with the Lions really good. Their pass rush, has their defense have done a really good job, like containing Jared Goff. I think they can do that in this game. And their secondary is pretty good, which I think they can man up against the Lions receivers. But yeah, I understand the Lions, have a great secondary and all that. And, it did improve. The defensive line did improve where they can stop the run really good. They can stop the pass. But I don't think the Lions are good against the pass. So I think the Niners can throw on them a little bit. So that way, the receivers and the tight end can win their one-on-one matchups against them. And, I don't think the Lions can run the ball. I don't think they're gonna be able to run the ball in the Niners defense. I think the Niners defense will find a way to stop the run and all that. So yeah, I think the Niners win that game at home. And last game against the Arizona Cardinals, I'm gonna say they sweep the Cardinals because I feel like unless the Niners are resting their starters, I think the Cardinals will win. But I have the Niners sweeping the Cardinals because the Niners, I just feel like they just got more to play for in this game, and the Cardinals just don't because I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year. The Niners are trying to fight for a top seed in the NFC. So, yeah, especially the Niners are just a better team overall and have better coaching. And I think Purdy's a better quarterback than Kyler, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think the Niners win that game. So, ultimately, I have the Niners going 13-4. Which that's pretty good. 4-2 in the division, 9-3 in the conference, 9-0 at home, 4-4 away. I mean, that's not that bad. But when you look at the Niners schedule, it could be a little easy because I think it could because when you look at their schedule, like it may not be tough, but it could be easier because they have to play some teams who made the playoffs, which they have to play the Rams twice. They play the Cowboys, the Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl last year. They play the Packers, the Bills, and the Lions. So and the Dolphins. So basically, this is kind of a harder schedule, but I feel like it's easy in my opinion. But they play the Jets though, which I think is going to be pretty good this year, and the Seahawks might be good, and the Bucks could be really good. So yeah. And the Bears might be good. So, yeah. So, this could be a harder schedule, but I don't think it's hard in my opinion because I think the Niners do have the pieces, to put together a championship level. Their receiving core is still the same, but they did improve by adding Ricky Pearsall. The offensive line is still the same. And I still think the defense is still the same because, they lost, even despite them losing Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead, and Chase Young. But the linebacking core is going to be improved. by adding DeAndre Campbell in there. Their secondary should be better. I feel like Hufanga coming back can be huge. And their coaching staff is still the same. And Brock Purdy is pretty much of a good quarterback to like lead them to the Super Bowl. So yeah, and the running game is still the same with CMC. So yeah, I think the Niners, 13-4 is good enough. I feel like they're gonna win the division because I think they're just the best team and they're gonna win it. I feel like they're gonna be a better team than all the teams in the NFC. So yeah, and especially they got the better they got the better roster overall and have more talent. So yeah, and I think the deep. So I like their team a lot better than last year. So I feel like the Niners could lose, but there's some games I think the Niners could lose to. I could definitely see them lose to the Chiefs. I could definitely see them lose to like the Dolphins or the Lions. I could definitely see them beating teams like the Packers or the Bills. Or I could see them sweeping Seattle and sweeping the Rams. So yeah, those are games I could see them win and lose. So yeah, I think the Niners are probably gonna go somewhere from like 12 to 14 wins this year, but I say maybe 15 at best. But I don't see them winning 15 games because I feel like 15 is kind of way too high and optimistic, and I feel like their schedule is too tough for to do it. And maybe 11 games at worst, they start to slip up and take a step back and all that. So yeah, so 13-4 is what I have for the Niners. You might disagree with me, but just let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. It's Emmanuel Jones, a big fan. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later in the next video. Peace.